Disclaimer. All statements within this podcast consist of our own opinions and in no way should be taken as medical advice, as we are not medical professionals. All resources will be stated. We always encourage you to do your own research and to consult your own doctor or medical professional before attempting anything.
Hey guys, for the next few episodes, we're going to go into a bit of a series. So just so you guys are aware, the next few episodes will all be connected and sharing virtually the same topic. Have fun and enjoy, guys!
Welcome back to Random Witchcraft with Vix.
And Callie, word up, people.
Today's episode is number 3 of a 3-part series on the representation of witchcraft in the media. Today's episode is about movies.
Well, come on, bitch. Let's call the corners then.
Not screwing around. Well, with that, let's start off with The Craft.
Because who hasn't seen The Craft? Who hasn't done the binding spell from The Craft? And who hasn't gone, oh, you're scared?
Are you scared, sir? You scared? Or, we are the weirdos, mister.
Or, oh, he's sorry. He's sorry.
He's sorry my ass?
True. But yes, The Craft was probably not probably one of the biggest, but
one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people
in our age group
research the practicing. I was going to say The Craft. Of course they researched The Craft. They watched The Craft.
Yeah, but still, it makes me giggle because I never saw it as a horror film.
Yeah, I don't either.
It was more like, hey, it's fantasy, but not as a horror film. Like, what in there is scary and gory? And you want to know the main reason why they put it as a horror film? Because it had snakes and insects. I can see where someone has a phobia of that, yes. I understand that. No one wants 1,000 cockroaches crawling on them. But the cute little boop noodles?
I know, those were like non-venomous and they were pretty and adorable.
Even the venomous boop noodles, the ones with the hurt juice, you still want to bap them on their nose.
Yeah, they might bap you right back too.
It would probably be the most scariest, but yet go, oh, but I mean bap them on the nose when they're close to the glass. And not, give them the opportunity to give me the hurt juice.
Well, considering we do live in a place that has 2 different types of diamondbacks.
Yeah.
The Western diamondback and also the Mojave diamondback.
Yeah, no. I've seen the Mojave one.
I think it's like the Mojave green or something like that.
My neighbor Art, he ended up carrying it in his truck because it was sitting out there when he was out there. And it was sitting on his engine. When he finally got back home, it cooled off. It slid on out.
Hey, just wanted to take a ride. And you also have The Craft Legacy.
Yes.
Which is the newest one. Which
if you haven't seen it,
it's a sequel.
See it. A good little plot twist at the end. We're not going to spoil it, but good little plot twist at the end.
Yeah, that ties it to the original. And then
you have something that we talked about because of the TV show and the last one. Bewitched.
Bewitched is... Which is an interesting one. It's a different take on on that one.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. You also have The Covenant.
Yes.
Which is a really good movie. It's just not a very wide-known movie.
No, it's not, but it's kind of that whole cult classic type deal. If you know it, you're like, hey, let me watch it.
Welcome back to Random Witchcraft with Vix.
And Callie, word up, people.
Today's episode is number 3 of a 3-part series on the representation of witchcraft in the media. Today's episode is about movies.
Well, come on, bitch. Let's call the corners then.
Not screwing around. Well, with that, let's start off with The Craft.
Because who hasn't seen The Craft? Who hasn't done the binding spell from The Craft? And who hasn't gone, oh, you're scared?
Are you scared, sir? You scared? Or, we are the weirdos, mister.
Or, oh, he's sorry, he's sorry, he's sorry.
He's sorry my ass?
True. But yes, The Craft was probably not probably one of the biggest, but
one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people
in our age group
researched the practicing. I was going to say The Craft. Of course they researched The Craft. They watched The Craft.
Yeah, but it makes me giggle because I never saw it as a horror film.
Yeah, I don't either.
It was more like, hey, it's fantasy, but not as a horror film. Like, what in there is scary and gory? And you want to know the main reason why they put it as a horror film? Because it had snakes and insects. I can see where someone has a phobia of that, yes. I understand that. No one wants 1,000 cockroaches crawling on them. But the cute little boop noodles?
I know, those were like non-venomous and they were pretty and adorable.
Even the venomous boop noodles, the ones with the hurt juice, you still want to bap them on their nose.
Yeah, they might bap you right back too.
It would probably be the most scariest, but yet go, oh, but I mean bap them on the nose when they're close to the glass. And not, give them the opportunity to give me the hurt juice.
Well, considering we do live in a place that has 2 different types of diamondbacks.
Yeah.
The Western diamondback and also the Mojave diamondback.
Yeah, no. I've seen the Mojave one.
I think it's like the Mojave green or something like that.
My neighbor Art, he ended up carrying it in his truck because it was sitting out there when he was out there, and it was sitting on his engine. When he finally got back home, it cooled off, it slid on out.
Hey, just wanted to take a ride. And you also have The Craft Legacy.
Yes.
Which is the newest one. Which
if you haven't seen it,
it's a sequel.
See it. A good little plot twist at the end. We're not going to spoil it, but good little plot twist at the end.
Yeah, that ties it to the original. And then
you have something that we talked about because of the TV show and the last one. Bewitched.
Bewitched is... Which is an interesting one. It's a different take on that one.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. You also have The Covenant,
Yes.
which is a really good movie. It's just not a very wide known movie.
No, it's not, but it's kind of that whole cult classic type deal. If you know it, you're like, hey, let me watch it.
Which The Covenant was a very good movie. A lot of pretty boys.
Most girls ended up watching it because it was around the time that Gossip Girl came out, and Chase Crawford, which played Nate Archibald, was in it. And mind you, I liked him in Gossip Girl, but he was kind of too much of a white knight, and I kind of liked this little bit of darker side to him.
Yeah.
Other ones that...
Yeah, I know The Covenant was listed as a horror movie also.
Yeah, and again, where it gets to it, it's like, why? I don't understand. I think of horror, and I think of, I don't know, like
Dracula.
The old Frankenstein. A little more modern Rob Zombie's House of Thousand. A lot of gore in it, a lot of, dismemberment. Jump scares, something that's going to make you end up going, oh, is he coming? Chainsaw Massacre, stuff like that.
Well, the Blair Witch Project.
The Blair Witch Project, yes, it had jump scares. Yes, it was.
That was very much horror. It was meant to scare people.
Mm-hmm. It was. Not that it was a bad, scare. It kind of got you adrenaline pumping, and it was fun. I actually laughed most of the time when I went to go see the Blair Witch Project in theaters.
And you also have, like, The Witches.
Yeah.
Which I know is based off a book.
It is. And we'll get into books on witchcraft later.
Later.
Way later.
Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking of forgetting one.
Yeah, The Witches was very much a movie about the traditional way of depicting witches in movies.
Let's get into another
ugly
one.
Hag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not all of us are ugly hags. Some of us are men. And some of us are beautiful women.
When you get painted up.
That's beside the point.
Another one that we grew up with that made us go, I want that kind of love, but also realizing that it's okay to embrace who you are in the craft. Practical Magic.
Practical Magic is definitely not a horror movie.
No.
And that one actually struck a different chord. It did actually...
Because Sally Owens didn't want to embrace her craft. And it wasn't until that she embraced it that everything came to be. In the way that she ended up, making the spell as a kid to come up with a true love that will never exist. So she didn't have to feel the pain her mom did. And the universe gave her something else.
Yeah. After that first love died, she ended up with a new one.
Mm-hmm. Which again results into another episode that we did in the past. Prepare for the different outcomes that may come. And embrace what you are.
Yeah, with practical magic, that one definitely does fall under the same category as in the previous episode, the Good Witch.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And there was a quote in practical magic that, like, pentacle, all it is a star, but we give it the power.
Yeah, we do. I think my favorite line is when they're banishing the spirit out of her sister. He's like, "Oh, would that work on my ex-husband?"
Yeah. And then you have, like, the Witches of Eastwick.
Yes.
Which I believe does involve, like, the devil.
It does.
Jack Nicholson being the devil, which makes sense, which I didn't get until I was a lot older.
Well, a lot of people still don't, like, honorable mention, Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, it's a story old as time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, like, Rosemary's Baby, which also devil worship.
But it's devil worship, but it's also, you have the spin-off of where, you know, What's Wrong with Adam one. That was a TV made movie that shows that Rosemary ended up taking her baby away from the coven and they couldn't complete the ritual.
Which also falls under, like, the Omen.
Mm-hmm.
The son of the devil. Damien.
Yeah, Damien.
Which we didn't actually include in the TV section of the series.
True, but...
Even though he is definitely does have the magic in him.
Yeah. Well.
Well, also touched upon in the last episode, Sabrina Teenage Witch.
Yes.
The part that started it off with the TV show was with Melissa Joan Hart was the movie.
Yes.
Which definitely has a lot of, like, witch vibe.
It kept more in vibe with the whole witch motif of it all. Is motif really the word?
It definitely had that witchy vibe. Which is kind of... The cinematography of the movie was a bit darker, but the movie was not darker.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that one.
Which, on that same level, you have Teen Witch, which was back a movie from the 80s.
Yeah, which also inspired the whole...
It inspired what?
It inspired them to make the Sabrina movie.
That would make sense. Use an old comic book to get to.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And on that whole kitschy Disney type list, you have, like, Halloween Town, the Halloween Town series, which they kind of did to death.
If you're going to put that Disney did that to death, it would be like saying that they did Hocus Pocus to death.
Well, there's only 2 Hocus Pocus.
But you see,
there's, like,
the fact...
4 or 5 of the Halloween
There's
Town
only
movies.
4.
It's like 4 or 5.
4 or 5. For someone who's watched the movies consistently and doesn't know how many movies there are, I want to smack you.
I know it's 4. And they did seem like they got a little bit less budget with each one. Especially
Excuse me?
comparing the first to the second.
Do you know how much money it costs to actually add all of those digital effects on there? We're talking about a ton. And people that actually know how to do it, that's why they make big bucks.
Are you talking about Halloween Town or Hocus Pocus?
Halloween Town.
Because I know they spent a lot of money on Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah, especially the second one, because people wanted it. Yeah. But on Halloween Town, you can tell what their first budget on the first one, which is Halloween Town, not very much. You can even see some of the costuming was very, go buy at a Halloween store.
Yeah.
Then you get into the second one. They got a little bit more, not too much, but you saw more special effects in it. Then you go into,
what is his name?
You mean her husband, Marley's husband?
No, I'm not talking about Calibur's son. I'm talking about the troll guy that was one of the bad guys and being a good guy and helping them out.
Luke.
The makeup difference with the first and the second one.
Yes. So
they went a little bit all out on the first one and not so much on the second one. It was probably to make it easier to put it on and take it off.
Probably. But even on the second one, they still kept some of his troll-like features. But they also end up implying that Marnie's grandmother was one that, helped him keep some of his human-like features.
I missed that. And then,
because remember, in the Return to Halloween Town, Marnie figures out that her grandmother is royalty in Halloween Town.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have, the Wizards of Waverly Place one. And you got also Twitches. And then Hocus Pocus 2. Disney has put out
Hocus Pocus, they wait a long time to do a sequel to that one. But it makes sense.
It does. You had to get it right it gave you the backstory on why Winifred and the sisters were so wanting to steal the lives of the children. And I'm hoping that, some practitioners probably didn't get the little hint that Disney did on who was the other witch when they were young. Did you get it? The one that gave them the book.
Oh, yeah. They didn't dive too deep into who that was.
No, they didn't. But on some of the interviews, a couple of the actors did.
Yeah, I didn't see the interviews, so I can't respond.
Some of the actors, like Bette Midler was talking about, she was the mother of witches.
That would make sense.
Did you learn something new today?
Maybe a little bit. And then to go back to the horror side of magic in movies.
Okay.
Ouija, the origin of evil.
You already know how I feel about the Ouija board, spirit board, whatever you may call it. Yes, it is an opening. It can go either way.
The spirit boards period didn't really get a bad name for themselves until the spiritualist movement in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it's scary thinking that we were born in the 1900s.
Did you really have to?
Yes, I had to add that in there.
Dios mío, ¿qué voy a hacer con esta persona? Pero, yeah.
Yeah, and then that spiritualist movement, we have a lot of there was a while that you had a lot of the scary movies that touched upon that.
Well, we had like, the biggest movie, again, on the whole spiritual movement would be The Exorcist. Because it donned the Exorcist series.
Well, that was also loosely based on a actual story of a little boy that was supposedly got possessed by demons. There actually is a documentary movie thing about that. I think it might have been a made-for-TV movie, but
yeah,
it's pretty much that was the file for the story of that is what led the writer to write the book, which led to the movie.
Which led to a lot of curses.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were scared when they watched that movie when it first came out.
Well, not only because they were scared, but...
People passing out, vomiting.
Well, no, I'm talking about before this movie even made it to theaters.
What are you talking about?
About how the actor that played the priest, he was walking up a flight of stairs into where they were going to film, and he slipped down the stairs and rolled down.
Yeah, that would...
There's also, the, movie that... Well, The Curse of the Poltergeist.
The Poltergeist series, yeah.
Yeah.
There was actually quite a few people that died for that movie.
But again, we go back to words have the power.
Yeah. And then you have, Season of the Witch.
Which, again, has a song. Has a movie.
Yeah, I think that one was more of, creature slaying, if memory serves me right.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. I think it was Nicolas Cage or something like that. Surprised that one's actually on the list because I don't think either one of us really know much about that one.
Well, we put it on there because it is,
Then we have the fun, kitschy movies like The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
True.
Which is a fun movie, but it's...
One that recently, before we even started to film this, and I found out recently, just a little note, I found out that they consider Disney's Beauty and the Beast as a witchcraft movie.
Well, then Sleeping Beauty.
Cinderella.
White, Cinderella. That's kind of a Disney thing.
Yeah,
the
it
magic.
Is. The magic of it all.
And outside of the Disney franchises, you have The Wizard of Oz.
Which is very dark.
It is.
But, again, you don't go for Glenda.
Which, yeah, you have the representation of the evil one being very...
green.
Well, she was green and nasty and a hag and the warts and all. Where you have Glinda, the good witch that dresses like a princess with her bubble wand. Which, I think that's where Disney got it from. At Disneyland and Disney World. The bubble wands, where you blow bubbles everywhere.
We are missing Disney. Sorry, that's just a side note.
And of course, the Elvira movies.
Yes. I've only seen the first one.
The Mistress of the Dark.
Yes. I've only seen the Mistress of the Dark.
But then you have the Haunted Hills, which Elvira is a goddess in herself. Cassandra Peterson is gorgeous and hasn't aged in a very long time.
Well,
Gotta have love for Elvira.
yes.
But those movies were very kitschy and very, like, spoof type movies.
They were the movies for the time, for the people that lived. Like, now we're getting a lot more representation in witchcraft now in media. Also, big upswing for, goths. Goth is coming back, so...
Goth never really went anywhere.
No, but it laid back into, where it's...
The underground.
Where I was more comfortable, in the shadows.
Yeah. And then you have one of the biggest franchises now. The Harry Potter and Fantastic Beast franchise.
Yes. It's a bit... Well, look how many people, if you look on Twitch, you have so many people playing the new Harry Potter game. And...
Yeah, I don't foresee that franchise going anywhere anytime soon.
Even though people have been trying, just from reading, people have their opinions. Everyone has an opinion.
People just want to have an opinion about everything. They want to say something bad about everything.
I want to say a couple of bad things about you.
Probably. I do a lot of fucked up shit.
Well, no, you're just a bit.
But everybody wants to be able to do what they do in those movies. And I want to see all of those creatures.
You know what? I wouldn't mind being a mermaid.
The Goblet of Fire?
Yes.
Which actually did touch more upon some of the stories of the sirens and the
Yes.
mermaids and undines.
I'd be a mermaid. You'd be a siren.
And there are rumors about there being a vampire in there too.
Well, yeah. They had ghosts. They had everything there.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my letter to Hogwarts.
So am I. I think we'd
if we end up getting into a thing, we'll probably have a poll to see what houses you are, because that'd be funny. But Slytherin.
You know that on Anchor there is a poll.
Yes.
You can add a poll.
That's why I'm saying there will be a poll to see what houses people are. But we're both our Slytherin.
Yeah. We do like snakes.
Mm-hmm.
I like the creepy crawlies.
Yes. The actual snakes and, well, we'll leave the innuendo alone.
But it's innuendo.
I don't feel it.
Boop snoot. Is there anything else you would like to add that you can think of that we don't have on our little list over here? Any good honorable mentions?
No, I'm pretty good. All the other ones usually go more horror than... Well, if we do honorable mentions, Dracula, Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned, they're more vampire-based, but
Yeah.
yet still part of the witch, magical community.
Especially if you go into, like, Vampire Diaries originals.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't made a movie.
Well, how can you? The only originals left would be Rebecca and Cole.
Is Cole still alive?
Yes.
Well, there's also the prequel. You could do a prequel of their origin story. with their
That's
mother.
what the originals were, the prequel of their origin story.
But they could have a whole movie about it and like. But that would be more. It was already touched upon. You know, I'm actually surprised there wasn't any representation of witches in Twilight. Because they did have a version of a werewolf and vampires. It's a good thought.
Well,
it's a good thought to leave this on.
Yeah, because we can get into a whole tangent about that, and we're not about to make this about an hour long.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what will be next.
What, on the next episode or next series? What?
No, the representations of witchcraft in the media. What will be next?
Well,
that is a thought for all of you viewers. And we'll have our little poll to see which houses everybody falls in with the Hogwarts. And Evermorning. Till next time.
Au revoir, people.
Well, till next week. This is Random Witchcraft with Vix and Callie.
Later.
Bye, loves. Hey, just one last thing before we sign off for the day. If you would like to reach out to us, you can email us at randomwitchcraft@gmail.com. And now you can send us voice messages through Anchor. If you would like to support this podcast for future podcasts and also other future endeavors, click the links below. That is completely optional and greatly appreciated. Thank you.